Hello, everyone, and welcome to State of the Realm. We took a bit of a hiatus last week, but this week we've got a special show for you all. This week we're going to be talking about content and guide making, and, well, we brought on someone who's been a pretty big goat in that category over the past several years. So with that, I'm the old, not goat, I'm the old head who used to do that a lot more, Mr. Happy. Joining me is Sly. Sly, have you ever made a guide?
For Q Savage, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I remember that. Yeah, I remember the Q. Oh man, I'd actually forgotten about that. That's true. Yeah, see, we got
the only guide I've ever done.
It was a good one. It was a really good one. How you doing, Sly?
Pretty good. How about you? How you doing?
Tired as heck, and probably going to be more tired over the next week, but excited all the same. Talk about that a little bit, probably towards the end of the show. There we go. But like I said, we do have a guest for this week's show, and many of you are probably familiar with their work. If you've ever stepped foot in the Party Finder, we have, making their, I believe, podcast debut in the form of Hector Hectorson. How you doing, Hector?
Let's go.
Hey, Happy. How's it going? Excited to be here. This is new for me. I don't do this.
Well, it's good to have you. I mean, like I said, if doing a guide making show, it feels like, especially in the last several years, it'd be weird to do one without you here. So I'm glad you were able to join us.
Glad to have a chance to just chat about guide making for once. I don't.
It's one of those things you just kind of internalize. You just do, and you just put it out there, and just glad to be doing it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've been making my own guides for like statics and the FC for ages. I've only done the whole YouTube thing for like a year, just kind of on a whim. But always something I've been passionate about. I'm a big fan of the game, big fan of the guide making scene.
Well, it's good to have you, of course. Now, before we get into giving you a chance to just talk about you, because we are going to start with that. We do have just a quick sponsor read to do, the whole podcast thing, it's weird. But it's nice and quick. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to, they choose to, because all of our content is available for free on YouTube. There's no monetarily gated content, so we appreciate all of you out there who do support us on the Patreon, and of course, Steel Series and Advanced GG for supporting. They always have the discount codes. They always have sales. Be sure to use the links and support. Okay, with that, I said I wanted this week's show to be a little on the lighter side on time. Sly laughed, so let's look at the clock. It's 12:03. Okay, let's consider that the start time for the topic.
All right. All right.
Hector, are you a fan of shorter guides or longer guides? Because maybe that'll help determine how long the show will actually be.
I have somehow managed to make mechanics that take like 20 seconds in the game somehow take up 10 minutes of a YouTube video, so I'm not really experienced in the whole like concise thing.
Isn't that usually how it goes though? Like for most guides anyway, it's like a really, really like quick mechanic that's really like snapshotty and really quick, maybe takes about 10, 15 to 20 seconds. That's about a good 5 to 10 minute explanation for everyone, for everybody who's doing everything in that mechanic.
Oh yeah, especially when you get the ones where like ultimates, DSR, every single person's doing something completely different, and there's like 5 things on top of each other, and in the game it's like, okay, mechanic, done. But to try to break down what in the heck just happened is way more in depth.
Yep. So before we get into the actual meat of guide making, this is your first time here. This is your first time, your podcast debut, and people know of you. I mean, a lot of people swear by your guides on BF. But tell us a little about yourself. Tell us your backstory, so to speak.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it comes as a surprise. I'm not really a content creator person full time. That's not really my gig. I just did this as kind of a hobby, a side hustle to have some fun with it. But the whole making pretty PowerPoints and talking over them to explain stuff was not particularly a new skill set I had to learn. I'm actually a teacher.
That makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of fucking sense. Okay. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, because your patience with teaching has to be it has to be saintly, but that doesn't carry over to us. I'm sorry. Like, so on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your patience like with teaching, and what's your patience like with us, aka PF?
That's what I was thinking. How bad are your students in the PF?
I feel like I thought that I had unlimited patience from teaching. I thought like I teach secondary students, and I thought that over time I've developed a really good poker face of that's all right. We're going to keep working through this. We're going to keep improving on that. That's out of the window, like seconds into. We said you're R2. Why are you stacked with me? Come on, people.
Oh my goodness. I like that Sly and I instantly heard teacher and thought we need to know the answer to this. It's like it's such a natural thing because we all remember being shithead students, so we have to know.
And we're still shithead students in the fucking game.
Sly, why you gotta lug us in? Why can't we be good students?
Are we?
I hope. I do all these ultimates. I'd like to hope that I've got some sort of decent student traits in me. Anyway, so
Continue.
You're a teacher. We took our little sidebar.
Yeah, no, I'm a science teacher during my day job. I come home at night. I want to relax. For some reason, I jump onto Final Fantasy. Believe it or not, actually, when I was doing my first raid tier, I've not played the game long. I started Shadowbringers. So I think like my first ever Savage was I did E1S and E2S like the day before they were no longer current contents. And embarrassingly bad to like a 0 parsing warrior. I think I just figured out what Shake It Off did. I thought it was like a personal myth. People kept asking me to use it. No idea what was going on. But I started when I joined a static for E5 for Eden's Verse. I was getting frustrated with mechanics as early as like E6 of I think I get this, but how do I explain this and make sure my static gets this perfectly? So I started doing what I assume a lot of people do, like MS Paint level drawings of this is exactly how Conflag Strike works. You stand there, and then we go here, and this green line is the tether. Don't break that. That bad.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm trying to find a paint from Top that I had that perfectly represents exactly what you just said. Oh, man. But that's, I mean, even chat's already saying, chat figured you were playing the game way longer than that. Were you a Final Fantasy fan much before starting in Shadowbringers, or was it just something that you didn't think you had the time for?
Honestly, I'd played FF7 when like I was a kid, like on the PlayStation. It was something I got for Christmas. And I'd gone back to play through some of FF4 when like the DS version came out, but otherwise wasn't really a big Final Fantasy fan or really an MMO fan. Just a friend started the game, seemed like fun, powered through it, and as soon as I got towards like end game content, totally hooked.
All right, I'm gonna cover Sly and I want you to rate this paint diagram on mechanics on a 1 to 10. Okay, if you just look at the stream right now, I just want you to rate that on legibility. Give me a grade.
Oh wow, that is. No, I'm getting so. This is gonna be hard because I've not even looked at Top yet. So basically, if I'm starting off on the left, the players do like a little spin around themselves, and then there's a bridge. Do you make a bridge in top? Is that an Omega mechanic?
Well, I mean, he's a boat, so maybe he would go under a bridge.
No, okay. The diagram on the right, that's diamond weapon. I'm not buying it. That's yeah, that's like Flood Ray, but like a heal LB strat where you're trying to kill everybody.
You know what's the sad thing is? So you haven't seen top, so you don't. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But chat figured it out immediately. They were like, "That makes perfect sense." Yeah, it's that completely logical.
Definitely. No, I'm getting it now.
I'm so glad they could still see your face through that. Oh man. Okay. All right. So not a huge history with Final Fantasy. So how did you decide 14 then? Because it's usually that's kind of like the bridge for a lot of people into 14.
Honestly, it was kind of just a whim. I literally had a friend who was wanted to try out a new MMO. I hadn't bothered with an MMO in like 6-7 years since like university, and so thought it seemed like fun. Somehow managed to stick with the game through A Realm Reborn, despite not really enjoying the combat, and I'm gonna get myself in trouble here. Not really liking the story.
For A Realm Reborn, no one's going to judge you for not liking A Realm Reborn story.
Okay, all right, we're good.
You're
Okay,
safe.
just
Now, if
don't
you
ask
say
about
anything about Heaven's Ward, then you have to start being concerned. That's when people get rabid.
Yes, I remember the plot to Heaven's Word very well.
It's okay. It's okay. You'll be all right, I believe. Listen, not remembering it is plausible deniability. You can't say anything bad about it.
Yes, see, I've just forgotten it. It was really intense and loved it so much.
You skipped all the cutscenes, didn't you?
You know the second to last dungeon in Endwalker when you're going back through all the memories, and there's a bit where you get to a shield with a unicorn on it, and it gives you a bunch of buffs, and the friend I'm doing it for the first time with is like, well, you at least know that one, right? Right?
That's okay. I know a lot of people who aren't into the story. You're far from the only one. I can assure you that.
Right.
I can't criticize it, and I'm not a full cutscene skipper before I'm crucified here. I watched the cutscenes, I paid attention to them as much as I can, but I'm normally playing the game after a full day at work, so I'm tired, and a lot of it's just kind of glazing over me.
It's a lot of words too, especially the earlier story. It's just so many just words.
I like the part where all the dragons are flying around, and then there's people like doing star dives out of the sky. That's cool. I could watch 20 hours of that.
That's the trailer. That's a good one. Oh man. Yeah, if anything, all the raiders are like, this makes sense. This is why we like them. Because the raiders just skipped it all and they just went straight for the raids.
Yeah, it's I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Yeah. I think it's probably there's a great story, and I can't judge the story because I was definitely like cognizant for less than half of it. But I'm still into the game because I really like. For me, Final Fantasy endgame design is my bread and butter. I like that as I've gotten older and my reactions have gotten slower, I can't cope with most other hard level video games, but Final Fantasy design of here's a puzzle, you have 4 seconds to solve it, go, is definitely my jam.
Well, that's good. So actually, on that note, before talking too much about the individual fights and the fights you've done so far, and I guess any of that particular stuff, there's been a lot of discussion about Endgame that I guess people have been expressing a different opinion in terms of the actual state of the Endgame. So you're saying that I'm sure you've heard some whisperings or mumblings from people about, it's any variety of problems. So you're kind of not in that category. You're someone who's quite content with end game at the moment.
I think I fit into that niche category of I'm not good enough at the game to have finished top and be out of endgame content and therefore be bored there. But I do like that endgame content, so I'm willing to suffer through the ultimate. So for me, I've got like 3 years worth of content left before I clear DSR and top. I got ages.
Where are you on ultimate progression? I guess across all 5 of them.
So I did UCOB last year at the end of Shadowbringers was the one that I had time for, because I only raid three days a week when I'm doing raid. I don't normally have time for more than that, and just a couple hours raids. They're not normally huge raid sessions. I cleared UCOB as my first one. I did a day of Uwu and Sol up to Titan, and we'll jump into that at some point in time to go get a kill, but I wasn't a big fan of what I saw. I think it's lost a lot of the fun that was the puzzle-solving elements now that we all know how it works. And then I've been doing DSR. In fact, my raid group is currently pushing for the DSR kill without me right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. As much as I really hope they don't clear, I really hope they do go and get that kill, and then they can drag me along for one kill afterwards.
Now I feel really bad for not having any flexibility this week. That's a horrible feeling.
If chat ends and I go onto the game and all of my friends have shiny weapons, then we might have a problem, but otherwise we're good.
Just go again. Just go right after. Now, if you make it a short show, can you still make it in time to get back in?
So we really have to make this a short show. All right, let's go. Let's go.
If the answer is yes, I'll speed this along as quick as I possibly can.
Oh, yeah.
I think they are in capable hands. They found a sub who can do what I do, but better. So they're good to go.
But we need to get you. You need to get the clear. That's my point.
Right.
Would be cool. It's been a long time. I think because we've not been able to just because I don't have the chance to do. I can't sit down and spend like a week going in day after day to really just build it up and go through. So it's been a long time, and we've had the typical ultimate problems of we've had to shuffle around different members of the static and different raid groups. We've had a member of our static who lives in Ukraine, and so the blackout issues and all of the times with there where we just couldn't raid, we had to drop it for a while. But I want to be done with it. I want to be done with it so bad.
That pain in your face, I know it so well. I know it so well.
If they could just remove Double Dragon's phase from the game, if it could just not exist.
That's my favorite one.
Oh God, I can't stand it. It's just the worst. It's not hard. There's nothing about it that's mechanically all that difficult. But all it takes is for you to have that brain fart for 2 seconds, and you've ruined it.
Boy, are you going to enjoy top?
Oh, please no.
He's not even in there yet. Yeah, there's a reason why I have a sound effect that's on stream that's just the E from when you die and you go back to Thornton. It just goes E. So yeah. Stop! You're making him drink. Stop.
So it's all right. We're on caffeine today only.
Okay. Good. I agree with that. Although mine's in a cup noodle thing, which is quite confusing. All right. Well, with that, let's try to get the show moving along a little bit so you can hopefully get in there before they clear. So, guide making. You mentioned how you got into guide making because you wanted to describe things to your own group. Did you have any particular feelings about the guides that were out there at the moment when you were first getting into raiding that you felt like you needed to say it as well? Something that you felt like was missing? To
an extent, kinda. the big thing for me is I'd say the eye opener for me was first seeing June Bob's content. I don't know if you've seen June Bob guides.
We wanted him on today, but his PC broke.
Funny thing, yeah.
They're works of art. June Bob is. I've had somebody once describe me as budget June Bob, and I took it as the greatest compliment. But genuinely, for me, June Bob's content does the perfect simplification of what you see visually. It is the ideal for trying to understand visually, because I from teaching, for me, I couldn't fathom trying to teach with the game, because the game itself is just a visual mess. It is so cluttered and full of explodey lights everywhere that even if you go like clean UI, it's still really, really hard to be able to get that perfect shot of exactly what you want. And I think it was actually June Bob. I think it was June Bob that made this an animation for Hello World back in the day, just like a 15-second little loop with this cool little musical background to it. That just so perfectly syncs and explains the mechanic, and you can drag anybody from the FC who's never done Savage before in, show them that loop a couple times over, and boom, they're good. But so I love June Bob's content. I want June Bob's content like a year before June Bob's content comes out. I get it. The quality that they put into it's the kind of thing that takes a lot of time, but I do want to start at least week 1, and that's one of those things that I've really. I guess that was for me the kicker was that I started making guides for my FC because I'm like, look guys, this is exactly what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna show you the top-down perspective, and it was mostly me doing it during Verse and during Eden's Promise before some really detailed top-down guides like that came out.
Now, and Haps, I want to bring you in this because you obviously make guides yourself.
I'm the old man.
The approach to everybody who makes guides. I mean, you have Happy, who's more, in-game footage, and you have someone like the Miz, who she does both in-game footage and a little bit of visuals, and then you have you and June Bob, who are more visually aligned. What was your approach, or what guided your approach to just being all pretty much visual? I like to call it the football whiteboard, because when they had the plays on ESPN and everything, and they can just make everything move. I like that approach too. I like all approaches, but I've seen to grasp more of the whole, icon and, everything football approach. So what led you into your, visual only approach?
For me, I'll be honest, because I didn't know how to record game footage on the PlayStation.
Working with what you got. Gotta love it.
Yeah, honestly, I was familiar with how to do PowerPointy stuff. For me, that was the way that I made sense most of it. It's very rare that a mechanic is one that I had to see what it looked like in game for that to be the way for it to make sense of me. There's a couple, and I'm starting to realize it. Ones that are purely visual tells really benefit from that. Like we mentioned Double Dragons, that saying there's an orb glowing in their mouth is a lot different than being, this is what Ray's going to look like, this is what Nidhogg's going to look like. That's how this works. I started purely visual, honestly, because I didn't know how to do otherwise. I've started to shift a little bit of, I did like a class to quickly learn how I drop videos in so that I can try to work that in more. But for me, top down is how my brain processes it. That's how I visualize the game. And when I'm trying to figure out where things go, it is like the football board style. Just, okay, M1 and M2, you guys go here. R1 and R2 were good. And now the mechanic makes sense to me.
Yeah, that checks out. I mean, that's my reasons for doing the way I do it is because I learn better from seeing it in the game. Like, one thing I hate, I can't stand this. And everyone who's ever watched me prog an ultimate knows this. I can't stand going into turn 4 to practice mechanics. I can't stand it because in my brain, I need to see the fight's arena and I need to see what my space on that arena looks like as I'm moving. So when I do it on a different arena, it just doesn't translate well for me. So that's why I do almost no visual support. I'm like, this is what it looks like when it happens in the game. So when you do it correct, that's what it will look like when your character is doing it. So yeah, it's just two drastically different learning methods at play here.
For me, it's like half and half. Like some things I need to like visually see like through the game, and then a lot of things are positional based. Like for example, what was it? Oh yeah, recently Excalibur on Deep Dungeon. It's like, you can just stand right here and you won't get hit by any of the ice attacks, right? Like yeah, like some simplistic shit like that. Just like seeing where exactly to stand on like in the arena. Just yeah, like that helps me too. So it's a little bit half and half for me.
I definitely see that, and I'm be honest, I don't exclusively, even for fights that I've done myself, I absolutely for older content used a lot of Mr. Happy and Miztech, and what's the Yukizuri's got a bunch of the sort of footage style stuff as well, and it works. It's for certain mechanics that's the easiest way to get it. There's a couple of fights where it's essentially useless to have the top-down one because it's entirely about being able to look at the boss animations and being able to read those quickly. For things like Rubicante EX, darn it, spoilers. For the most recent,
we're way past spoilers at this point. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Sorry, I had like a thumbnail for
God,
Barbaricia. For Barbaricia, like 4 days after it came out that I changed it to, and I'm like, oh, okay, nope, never again.
So you made the thumbnail spoiler free and changed it 4 days later and then got the comments 4 days later about it?
I want to say it was a couple days afterwards. I made it. I tried to specifically do like a silhouette, like Smash Bros. Character reveal. Thought, let's keep it, and I get it. Not everybody can play it immediately, and I'd rather that people look at my weird spaghetti silhouette blob of Barbaricia's hair than accidentally get a fight spoiled, especially if they're a big Final Fantasy fan. For me, I'm just like, ooh, cool. Green hair lady. That seems like a fun thing. But if you're a big Final Fantasy fan, I don't want to be that guy that messes that up for them. But for the most recent extreme, Rubicante EX is the kind of mechanic that immediately comes to mind for this really benefits from top down. From being able to see the spinny mechanics, the ordeals mechanic, I find really benefits from being able to just go from a top-down perspective. This is what this all looks like. You're looking for that symbol on the ground there. Go there. Done.
Again, it's completely different styles. I feel like I want to see what it looks like specific. You know what, though? I will say this. If there was a legal means of seeing the in-game method from that angle that was allowed, I would do that. Like if that was built into the game, like full top down, but it's because then it would be both worlds combined.
I still think we need that little tile thing they had from the media tour, like the little tiles they had. Remember, like they had like the job symbols, and they were doing mechanics on like a little tile board.
Yeah, from the job action trailer. Yeah. That would be good. Or the duty recorder could just be useful. That would be another really cool thing that they could figure out.
Stop wishing.
Can they not make like, how they keep adding all of these lovely third-party things that were third-party and making it so that I can use them on my console, like the timers on the icon? Can they not make it so like when I'm in camera mode, not gameplay mode, I can just zoom out so that when I want a picture of the arena and I can't find it, I don't have to take like 5 different pictures and stitch them together and make sure you hide down the teeny tiny bird's eye view Hector Hectorson underneath one of them so nobody notices?
Could they? Yeah. At this rate, do I think they will? About 50-50.
8.0?
8?
Possibly. Possibly.
I like it to happen sometime in my lifetime, Hector. Let's be a little more optimistic than 8.0.
Or again, somebody could, third party it, and then Square would, ban them, and then of course take all the credit.
That's all it takes, right? We just need to get people banned. That's all.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need a martyr.
Well, then if they were watching Top Clears, then we might be getting it soon. Oh God, what a shit show that was. Moving on from that. That's how you got into that visual style. When did it kind of really click to you to post them to YouTube versus what you were doing for the static? Because you said that June Bob's was there, and that's a big thing with content making. Is sometimes people see the thing they really love and they think, well, there's no reason for me to do it. But you went over that hurdle and decided that you really wanted to start posting to YouTube.
So this happened literally on a whim. That P1S came out. For like the first tier ever, I got to do content on day one. I got to go in, and because it was P1S and I wasn't going in blind, I had watched other people as they streamed. I figured out the fight via that. And so went in, and I think it was like an hour to kill because it was P1S, and once it was solved, there is nothing mechanically difficult there. You can do that fight with your eyes closed if you need to. But so I had, in preparation for when I was going to raid that evening, I'd watched a bunch of streams. I happened to have the day free, and I put together my version of the guide for my static. I was like, guys, this is exactly how the fight works. This is exactly what you're going to do here. This is how we're going to solve this one. This is how Fourfold Shackles works. Put it together really quick, simple, easy. And it was, I think, the reason why we cleared so quickly was that we were able to just go, yeah, we know the fights. So I cleared. I looked online and saw that there were no guides. And went, I have a guide. Uploaded it on a lark just to say, let's see what happens there. And it got a couple of thousand views while I was asleep. I honestly really never had considered making that for anybody other than the 7 people I wanted to clear the fight for. And maybe a couple months later when I drag FC people through it. But it happened to click. People happened to like it. And I was going to be doing the rest of the fights anyways. So why not?
And then it just went from there, P2, P3, P4, just down the line. You just figured, might as well.
Yeah, for the most part. P5 through 8, I went in with a game plan. I really was happy that Square this time gave us a week of the normal raids, so that I could Photoshop everything I needed to and make the arena backgrounds and get everything ready to go. I basically made a normal mode guide, not for the sake of a normal mode guide, so I could copy paste things to make my guide easier.
That makes sense. That's good. That's good thinking. I could definitely not do that. I just want the zoom out, man. Just give us the zoom out. I don't want to do that till we have a zoom out of the camera mode or whatever. Oh man. So at that point, it was more than a few thousand views while you were asleep. The first one may have been that. It as I'm sure you're well aware, looking at your own videos, far exceeded that over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Were you surprised to see so much kind of just gravity drawn to what you had made?
I expected nothing going in. I assume I chuck a video on, maybe I get 100 views before somebody else's guide comes out, and then I fade into existence. I was not expecting people to click with my guides that way. I know that they worked well because I'd been able to use them to help people in my free company be able to clear content in the past. It was one of my favorite things was to finish Savage and then go back in and get people who don't Savage raid and say, no, we're going through. We're doing E9. Deal with it. And so I'd known they were helpful, at least, and they were the kind of style that some people liked, but I had no idea that it was going to be this popular.
And I'd hope that was a good thing that you had seen that people were enjoying. Because if sometimes people just they actually don't want that kind of mass notice, but I'd assume that you were somewhat pleased that people were enjoying it.
I hate the attention. I'd like to be quite private. It's the reason I don't come on. I don't stream. I don't do social media. But I like that a lot of people found me helpful. That's the only reason that I really keep doing it, is that I think that people enjoy the guides and they find them useful. I don't really do it because I want the fame. I don't want it. I don't really do it for the money. I do a job. I do something else. I work. I teach for that. That's just kind of a bonus. I do this because I like the idea that I think that there's people, especially beginners, who are not going to be as new to Final Fantasy style things, that'll benefit from really simplified, really almost over-explained kind of guides.
Teaching's really in your blood then, because like I guess to find both avenues of both how your hobby is kind of transitioned into almost, you know, what your actual work is. I mean, that speaks very much to your character, I feel like.
Oh. I like explaining things. For me, I like it when I can take somebody who doesn't understand something and make it so they can understand it. I'll tell you this at the level of where I've kind of combined these two in glorious teaching nerdom, is I led a professional development session in my school. So this is teaching other teachers, and we were trying to break down a teaching principle, Rosenshine's principle on how to achieve a high success rate to try to get students to build up their confidence. And I got to lead the session, so I said, screw it. I taught them P5S.
Oh, why would you do that?
Yeah, this is beyond like normie. These people have their understanding of video games is like Chris Pratt level Mario, Goombas and Koopas. Final Fantasy is already like, I've lost half of them just with those words. Trying to teach them how Ruby Glow 1, how to understand that was something completely different, but it was something I thought would be fun to do.
Please tell me there was so much confusion during Devour.
It was I think I had them for like the gem mechanics. I think they understood the reflection, they understood what grew and what didn't, and I swapped it up. It wasn't just showing them my guide. I'd made like bespoke, all right, this is how Ruby Glow 1 works in terms of the different gems. All right, here are 4 different options. Which one of these tanks is about to die? Go.
I would love to have this just available for people. Point out the mistake, because actually that's one of the biggest things I think the PF struggles with, is everyone wants to know how to do it right, but they don't know how to identify when it's wrong.
Yeah, maybe I should I start making like Savage worksheets?
Honestly,
like
if you did, I think people would use
Savage worksheets. Yeah, that would be good. Who's in the wrong
spot?
spot?
It's a joke. I say it like it's a joke, but honestly, the things that I find most useful are like, there's an online game for the DSR Exaflares that's like top-down just WASD to be able to practice that. Or like back for E10, there was a game about trying to figure out which way the shadows were going, and I'd play those to death because that was learning. That was how I'd figure it out.
E8S had mirrors. It had the mirror quiz.
Oh,
did it? This was before, like, I did Chivon content,
Yeah.
but
I'm just saying that's people have been making those things, like things that are, I suppose, actual like quizzes, teaching aids, things like that. They've been there, and people have used them pretty consistently to get those things down. People were speed running the quiz because it's randomized. They were just speed running the answers.
Next pandemonium tier, that's going to be at the end of the. Hope you guys enjoyed this guide. Please click on the link for the workbook attached. I will be expecting your homework in by Friday. Thank you very much.
I'm not even kidding.
Awesome.
People would love it.
Yes, please do that.
It's a lot of work. I feel bad telling a teacher after a long day, can you please now make some more worksheets?
Yeah, you're the idiot that we were like throwing shit at. Shut the fuck up, man. We're trying to not do homework today. Shut up.
Oh man. But if you did that, people would use it.
Yeah.
Keep it in the back of my mind if I somehow find time after the guides to check together just a couple of little quick quizzes.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess you'd already have some of the assets from making the PowerPoint in the first place, but it'd be about then making the incorrect layouts. So people, that would go against my sensibilities. Like, I need to put somebody in the wrong place. Where do they even go?
That would be easy for me. Okay, where did I go wrong first? Yep, cool. Where did I go wrong second? Yep. Where I went wrong third was the first one again. Knowing how to do a mechanic bad, I got that down.
I wouldn't be able to tell after looking at the videos. Oh man,
I think I very much embody the what's that old teacher joke? Those who can't do teach.
Yeah.
I am a thoroughly mediocre raider. I love the game. I think I could do great ninth man style stuff and being able to work out how the mechanics work, and I love solving the puzzles, but I am just okay at the clicking the buttons bits.
Listen, you got us fooled. Sorry, that's the silence. I was like, I don't know where to go with it now.
No, that's right. Well, I'm glad. I think that's a minority of people that are fooled. I remember because some of the guides that I've made, I'm not quite. I don't stick to the way that Junebob does, where I have to have seen every bit of the content, cleared it myself. I have absolutely made some guides that are based off of stuff that I feel confident I understand the mechanic. I know exactly how the fight works. I can stand by what I'm going to put in this guide, but I don't try to make a secret of it. I've not cleared everything before the guide goes up. And I know PF and some people on that definitely wanted to make sure that was known to the community, but not trying to hide it.
Oh boy, yeah, I'm sure that's a thrilling endeavor. That YouTube comment section's got to be.
It's mostly really positive and nice, and I use it to get that feel-good feeling, and then every now and then I get the person who says that I am a terrorist training manual for Party Finder.
Oh, I've gotten that one before.
All right, okay, as long as it's not original.
Time out. What?
Yeah, because they watch my manual, they go into Party Finder, and they murder people. So it's my fault.
That's how it works, Sly. It's Sly. Let me tell you, it's especially bad when you just put out a week one video and you're like, well, this was kind of just the first way it was figured out. But surely people will get better. And they never watch another video again, Sly, and that comes back on.
And this is the one thing we kind of like now that we have guide makers here. This is a guide making episode. The community. Because again, like like Hector, there are people who swear by your guides, and then there are the week of people who go watch Mr. Happy Guy this fucking party.
Why'd you have to say it?
Yeah, go. We're doing the Mr. Happy strat. If you ain't doing this strat, don't join this fucking party. So, yeah, what's your take on the PF? Well, I'm not even gonna say the community anymore. PF, and their let's call it tribalism at this point in terms of strats and different guides and so and so.
Honestly, before I even started it, I already was well aware of how tribalistic it can get, and in the worst ways, because the strats that the community decides that they love or hate, I just don't get it. Like, I used Happy Brambles when I cleared P9, and it was fine. It worked great. If you want to use another strat, sure, why not? They work. Sorry, not P9, E9. It was fine, and especially with E9 where there was no DPS check, who cares? You could be in week 1 gear and clear a minute before the enrage. Just go on and do a strat. And if somebody's doing something different, cool, figure that one out. It's not particularly hard. I've never gotten the obsession with certain strats, and specifically the people that really are keen to hate on a strat to a mechanic.
Yeah, we had to bring Happy Brambles into it, huh? That's where we had to go with that one.
Happy Brambles, happy fountains.
Dude, I didn't even put that in a guide. That's the worst part. I literally posted a clear VOD, woke up, it had 50,000 views, and I went, oh no. Oh no.
Why have you ruined the community,
Oh,
Happy?
no.
Why would you do this to them?
Oh no. And then I opened, and I was like, if I open PF and I see my name, opens PF, oh no. No.
Yep.
No. And then I did put it in the guide later because at that point it was done. I was no point in trying it again, and it was my fault. Right, that's it. Fucking Happy Brambles.
I'm starting to get. I got a little bit of a taste of it. Nobody for P1 to P4. I just don't think I was big enough that anybody cared. But because P5, my video really took off. There's been a lot of people that want to nitpick every little strat that's not perfectly optimized from the video that came out day 1 and want to get really intensely into, like, this is the only way to do it.
Ruby 5 is a really annoying one to get comments about, isn't it? Is it Ruby 5?
I mean, a Ruby 5 for P5 was one of the big ones because I cleared in a solo, in a caster build. We had a dual caster. We had 1 melee. So when we cleared, we had main tank was middle, so I had no idea whether or not boss moved during that mechanic. But since then, I've gone back and I've done it in dual melee, and there was a lot of people that took issue with the idea of having the melees middle and the tanks on the outside, because the boss can move if you do it wrong. But the melees can still get full uptime if the boss stays middle. Which means that if your problem is that, oh, your tank's not getting uptime here, why would you do that to them? You know, your tank can just move like 2 steps inwards. Put the max melee, the boss does not move, and then you're good. You don't have to change the mechanic. Or put the tanks middle. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I just put what I did on the first week, and it didn't cause any issues for uptime, and so that's what I showed. But, oh, it got a lot of people really incensed.
Yeah, because when I think P5, I was like, the only thing I could think of is Ruby 5. Like, what else could somebody take issue with in P5? Like, I don't think there can't be anything else, could there?
That was the start. It escalated more into P6. Everybody's got an opinion on Cactuar.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yep. And P7S, I got people that were upset that, like, by the time I made my guide, I'd just seen the Sleepo strats, the brain dead version for Inviolate Purgation, which, yeah, nobody's ever going to use anything but that. But I felt, like, bad for the developers that they clearly had an intended solution for how this was supposed to work with the swapping of the
we break that shit day 1 all the fucking time. Like,
when I cleared,
you go ahead.
When I cleared, I had to do the swapping thing, and it completely wrinkled my brain, and it was awful. So if I had to do it that way, you have to at least watch 5 minutes of me explaining how people for the first 3 days had to do this. And then immediately afterwards, I'll show you Sleepo, and you can enjoy that. But you get to sit there and you get to deal with it.
That actually is an interesting point, because I've bounced back and forth between doing just what I did and not like, look, okay, what are other people doing? Let me put that in there. And it's like, no, this is what I did, so I don't want to just copy what somebody else told other people to do in my content. So I'll just tell people what we did and then say, please understand, that's not the only way to do it, but that doesn't change the comment section at all. But then when you try to do 2 different ways, people go, why would you even include that? And it's like, listen, because there's not only one way to do it. Okay. That's why.
Which further ruins PF.
Oh, it does.
God forbid you give them multiple options. I think that, honestly, I think my head, I don't know where my head was at. By the time I got to phase 2, P8S, I was so stuck between this is what I'm doing, and I think it works, and I think it's smart, but I really don't want to be upset people, so let me show multiple ways of doing bits, and other bits I'm like, no, I think this is just the better one. I'll just show that, and the community hates, the PF hates everything I did with P8S Phase 2. Won't go near it. I don't get it. It worked fine for me. I cleared on it. But they're really, really set on what they like and what they don't like, and I struggle to understand necessarily what will be a hit and what won't.
That's the problem with PF especially. Here's why I don't do PF anymore. Because last time, and this was like maybe Shadowbringers. Last time I did a PF, you get in, 7 other random people I don't even know. How you doing? Hey, what's going on? Let's get this done. The first 15 minutes of the fight are them arguing over which strat and which guide we are going to use. The next 5 minutes of the fight are us fucking up the said strat that we all agreed on, and then we're finally agree on the strat. And then disband and re-enter the PF. So yeah, this is why I don't like. There's choice overload, and then like people just can't agree on fucking one thing in PF. That's just PF. Like you have statics who are more concrete than the randos in fucking PF. Sorry, randos.
Don't be sorry. They don't think you're talking to them. They're like, oh yeah, they hate those guys too.
But yeah, that's why I don't do PF anymore, because there's choice overload and they don't know how to fucking choose.
That's always I don't get how they choose and how they get so adamantly convinced this is the only way to do it. Like Snakes 2 in P8S. You can either stand on your color and you can swap, or you can stand in static positions and you're just changing the way you look. And in my opinion, they're both really easy. They're both or at least they're equally easy. There is so little in between them that I showed the one that I was like, I think I'm going to stick with this because I have to cast, and if I cannot move, I prefer that over moving, but, whatever. But I didn't really feel strongly either way about it. I just showed which one I thought would be the one that I was going to plan to use. And there were so many people that got really incensed, like tribalism, colored snakes, Spriggan snakes, nothing in between. I just don't get it.
The Party Finder is a fickle beast. One that doth nobody truly feel like they've conquered. No matter how much time. I don't know how people decide. They wake up, maybe go to work or go out and do something for the day, whatever.
Wake up and choose violence.
And then they come home and say, I'm going to PF tonight. And they were done with
they chose violence.
And they're done with the raid tier,
violence.
right? Like they're done with it. Like they technically don't have to do PF that night. Like they're good. But that's like the conscious decision they make. And I'm just like, you know what? You and I are not from the same planet, and I don't get it.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I
mean, there are some saints out there. There's some saints out there.
Yeah, that's true. That I understand. Wanting to help people is the only thing I understand. But even then, there's a limit.
Anybody brave enough to do a whole tier start to finish PF, especially early PF where the strats aren't cemented, my hat goes off to you. That takes a special level of either bravery or masochism, but genuinely really impressive.
June.
That's what I was thinking.
June. Yeah.
Wish he could have joined us today. He'd have a ball with this one. We'll do a follow-up at some point, maybe before 7.0. We'll try to get you both on the show again. Because he was disappointed he couldn't join. His PC broke. Like, of all the weeks for his PC to just die.
Yeah.
I'm kind of crushed that June couldn't be there. I've been fanboying on their content for quite a while. They just It's just so pretty.
We'll facilitate at some point. We'll make it happen. Now you've been on the show once. Now if you're on again, it's just you're just back. It's you got the first one out of the way, so it's all good now.
Well, I don't know. I was kind of thinking I was gonna do like the groundhog, the Puxatani Phil. Like I was just gonna pop out like once a year, see if I see my shadow, and then go back into hiding for another 6 months.
Well, perfect, because the expansion is not till next year, so you got plenty of time. You can just go back in the hole after this. Honestly, it's probably safer in there anyway. There's no PF at all. Well, at least I like to assume there isn't. So you talk about how now the way that you kind of think about approaching things is changed. Because before you were just kind of doing it as a means of teaching your group and watching other people do it first. And now you're kind of getting into the side of it where you're going in and figuring out for yourself. And then that's how you're developing the strategies. That's how it's been more recently with the Pandemonium tiers. Has that, I guess, affected the way that you think about doing things going forward now that you've seen both sides of approaching it, I suppose?
Yes, and that I'm going to tread lightly because I have no idea what to do anymore. I do just my strats and what I think works best, and some people like it, some people hate it. I try really hard to look at what PF might want and show that, and some people like it and some people hate it. I don't know how to win here.
There's no winning.
I like P8S high concept. I was like, okay, I see what everybody likes to do for that. I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna try to make sure I use the same waymarks as they like to do. And so I popped onto because I wasn't PFing it. I was doing it in my static, and I popped on to like a random PF. I think it was Rin Karagani. I was watching on Twitch, and he was doing it in PF. And I'm like, oh yeah, those are the waymarks that I was expecting. With the 1, 2, 3 in the northwest, and then A northeast, B southeast, and C southwest. And apparently that's mirrored from how everybody really likes to do it, and so they hate it.
Oh no! Oh no! That's the worst. That's the worst.
I tried Party Finder. I did.
There's nothing worse than having the exact right strat, but the markers are flipped. People, I think that might be the thing that aggravates people more than a strategy just being different.
Can you help me with this? Because I think I goofed. Apparently, you've obviously been playing since. I actually don't know. I tried to like scroll down on YouTube to get to the bottom of your YouTube videos to see when you started, and my computer started to freeze up because I'd scrolled too far.
Yeah.
I was somewhere like beginning of Heaven's Word, but I'm presuming you've been playing longer than that even.
1.0.
2.4.
Yeah, 1.0. I in fact,
my condolences.
I played the beta for 1.0, and then on September 27th, that was the day that the game released for early access for 1.0. I skipped class in uni to go get my collector's edition, and then skipped my rest of my classes to play 1.0. And it might be the only time I wish I hadn't skipped a class at university. I was also one of the first 10 people on my server to be level 50 about 2 months after it came out.
My condolences?
No, you don't need to. It's my fault. This is on me.
No, technically 2.3 because I remembered the live letter for 2.4. So yeah, 2.3 for me.
Yeah, because you were at FanFest, and FanFest was like the week before 2.4. Like we got the 2.4 trailer that Friday. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that's how long I played Hector.
Oh God, I've only heard tale of these things like TP, stance dancing, the idea of main like the Praetorium being in-game content. These are all like distant dreams.
How about I take you back even further? In 1.0 on release, we had the fatigue system, where if you leveled one job too much, they reduced the amount of EXP you gained until you went and played another job, or weekly reset.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
To encourage you to go level other jobs.
Good God, Square.
Yeah, 1.0 is not around anymore for a pretty good reason.
Mm-hmm.
know. I'd almost. Are they not going to do like a Final Fantasy 14 Classic?
No.
Give us a chance to.
No.
What's the
You
word?
know what that is? No, you know what that is? Final Fantasy 11.
No, it's not. They're really nothing alike.
Yeah.
Like trust me when I say they're nothing. Even 1.0 and 11 are nothing alike still. Chat knew the word though. Nightmare. That's the word you were looking for. Nightmare. Oh my god. But I'm sorry. You said you were scrolling. There was a question. I guess we got off the train of because you asked how long I'd been playing. I felt like that train of thought was probably going someplace.
Sorry. Yeah. No. Okay. It's late. This is now. Like,
That's my
teacher bedtime already. Waymarks. Where do I put the 1?
Oh, this is so.
Yeah, get me this right because I've gotten. I just made a circle and I alternated things and I put the colors next to each other, but that's not good enough. Where do you put the 1? I want to get this right from like here and for all posterity.
It's a highly debated topic. I am a firm believer that no matter what, the 1 should be north adjacent. Because in some fights, it doesn't make sense for the 1 to be directly north. And in some fights, it doesn't make sense for it to be northeast. So it needs to be one of the anywhere from northwest to northeast, depending on the fight. And that's not a good enough answer for the PF.
No, you've made this worse. I need you to tell me, where do I put the 1? And we're gonna lock this in place. And then when somebody complains about it, I blame you. That's what I'm looking for.
That's fair. I am personally a fan of alternating, starting from north, not northwest, of alternating between letter and number, which would put 1 northeast. That is where my brain says things should go.
So that you go on cardinals, and then if you have to rotate, you rotate clockwise, and you're on the same color. That's your adjust spot, which was always my logic, always what I preferred. But the idea of people not having the 1 be on one side and the 2 be on others, how will group 1 and 2 know where to go? How will group 1 know they're on the left if there's not a 1 over there?
Yeah, that really grates my. Well, I'm sorry. That really grinds my gears. Yeah, that really grinds my gears. Yeah, using the 1 and 2 marker it makes sense if the fight has no reason to just use traditional markers. Like if there's a good, like there's no reason to like have the colors like set up as A and 1 because there's no swap. Like I get it, you know. But there are some people who they do like some really weird ones. I've seen 1 northwest bugs me out. I hate 1 northwest. I see it in a few places and it's like I don't like it. I think there's only one place I think I've liked it. That might be E12. I think E12 might be the only place I've seen 1 in northwest and been like, yeah, that's probably the right decision. But that depends on the strat too, because I've seen 1 northeast there too. So
interesting. One northwest for like tiny stacks at the beginning. Are you thinking?
Yeah.
Just because it's on.
People split the room in half for Shiva and for stuff, so they split it northeast and southwest because of it. So they start 1, but it's still, even then for me it would be A1 2 B, not 1A. Like that's what bugs me. 1A 2B versus A1 B2. That's what bugs me. I always want letters and then numbers, not numbers then letters.
P4S first phase or second?
For what chat's saying, I don't honestly. I've blocked P4 out of my head. I remember all the mechanics, but the markers I couldn't.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to like. Where would it?
For light party stack?
I could see Act 2 would be where that mattered a little bit, but they weren't like properly cardinals or intercardinals.
Act 2 or Act 2 like all of your markers in that fight were for Act 2. Like they were just barely a guiding light for everything else. They were the only place they really mattered. So that's fair. And that's the only place where I think going from the norm makes sense, when there's only one mechanic that needs markers, and then you can kind of just do whatever you figure out. But man, where deciding how you want your markers and then seeing the PF standard as the opposite is the worst feeling in existence.
Oh yeah, and for me, in my style of guides, because it's basically like it's a Mac PowerPoint is what it is.
Yeah.
If I get the markers wrong, I have to go onto a slide, redo the markers, put them, like, glue them onto the background, and I have to go through all, like, 250 slides, delete the map, re-put it in the right spot. Because the one has to be there, not there. It kills me every time.
You want to know the worst? There's actually something even that's doubly bad, because that's alternative number 1. And alternative number 2 is perfectly acceptable to most people, but it's the people who don't like that you did it in the first place. When you go, these are the markers we used, you could use different ones. And they're just like, it's like that you say that, and it's like their ears were closed for about 5 seconds.
I'm thinking for future guides, what I need is just anything that could have another way of doing it, even the tiniest little one. I want like the parental advisory sticker they used to put on the front of CDs. I want that, but it just pops up and flashes on my guide like, mechanic strats may differ. Please can talk to your PF.
People don't read shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, the whole making guides for the West is there's certainly a reading deficiency present in some capacity.
Well, yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, NA, you guys don't use macros, do you?
Boy, sure don't. I have some awful macro stories. Hector, I'm going to tell you a story, and it's going to make you upset. Okay.
First macros.
I'm excited.
So I was doing Emerald Weapon Extreme. Not something you really need a macro for, but you know what? Somebody brought a macro. And it had all the positions. It had D1, D2, D3, D4, H1, H2, MT, ST. Beautiful. Formatted. Great. When I realized macros were never going to work in NA, was when the Paladin called the H2 position in the Mac. Yeah. They said, I'll take H2. And we're like, no, that's not the one that you take. It's like, okay, H1.
What's the H stand for? Happy?
Happy?
H.
I guess
H
me,
is for
yeah.
Paladin.
H is for Paladin. Honestly, I've never lost more hope. Yeah, happy 1 and happy 2. That's what they stand for.
Yep.
Yeah,
How
just.
can they figure out the whole like waymark dance? Because you guys do you put a waymark down and everybody stands around it and you dance.
Well,
like
everyone's
that for 5 minutes.
supposed to stand around it. Sometimes people queue in and then walk away from their PCs, I think, and you just sit there like, fucking take the last spot so we know you know.
Oh God.
Yeah. Listen, that's not easy. I don't even think that's the worst of it. Did you know what happened to me with P1, right? Do you know what happened to me with P1?
No, what happened? Please tell.
So I joined a PF, and they said which strat we were using, and they said that we were going to use Happy Strat, and I was like, okay, I know that guide. I'm pretty familiar with it. And obviously, P1 had a huge debate over swap and no swap. That was like the big thing, tank damage down versus no damage down, I did no damage downs. So there's a swap, naturally. I recommend a swap, and a very simple one, doesn't require a whole lot of brain power. And so I go to swap, and the person doesn't go, and it's the person who's in charge. So I was like, oh, that's weird. They knew it, but they didn't do it there. Maybe they just made a mistake. And so then they type in party chat. Well, I type in party chat first, and I go, you forgot to swap there. And they respond, there's no swap. I mean, I'm sorry. They said, there is no swap in Happy Strat. To me. They said it to me.
Did you have were you on Mr.
Yes,
Happy?
MISTERHAPPY. Yep. On Ether.
How do you respond to that? How do you argue with?
Did anybody else in the party know?
I said, look at my name. Who am I? And I was on stream, and I was visibly upset. I've never, ever had that happen. So
wow.
that's proof in itself that no matter what you do, somebody out there is not doing it. That's it. That's all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. Like when I started showing multiple different ways of doing the mechanics for like P8S1 and P8S2, like there are multiple different ways you could do the strategy this way or this way. And then I see in the PF Hector strats. What the heck is that? Which one?
All of them.
We gonna do them simultaneously? We're all gonna stack middle and we're gonna break into two groups? How?
Yeah, because it's what it actually is it's the PF has decided that one of the two works, so everyone who does PF knows which one that is, but there's technically more than one. So it's very confusing, yeah.
It's that Hector one. I'm glad that everybody other than Hector knows.
That's what H1 and H2 stand for. Hector 1 and Hector 2. There you go. That's we figured it out. We found it. That's perfect. Yeah. And then hey, you know what though? At least it's one of the two and not either of them, as I came to experience. There's a clip if you want it. It doesn't have the party chat, but if you need something for your viewing pleasure later, there's the clip.
I'm gonna give that a look. I need to just see the audacity.
I have a picture of party chat somewhere on my PC. I know I tweeted it at some point, but it's that's guide making is a weird beast. I like how this became a guide making support group. Sly.
It's a rough business.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the clip now.
Haven't seen that be in a while, have you, Sly?
I am Mr. Happy.
Now I'm Mr. Mash.
Oh my god.
It's just what a time. What a time to be alive.
Holy fuck.
That's why I don't like when people. I
need to get that as a sound clip. I am Mr. Happy.
Is that my new when I join instead of it saying, "Hey guys, Mr. Happy here"? Whenever you do the shout out, now it's that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh no. Welcome to State of the Realm, where we hold support groups every week for every corner of the Final Fantasy XIV community. Oh man.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. Hector, you know what? At some point, maybe this will happen to you. You'll join and it just won't be either of your strats, but it'll say it's your strats.
It's fine. I've learned well enough now. You see Hector strats on the PF, you avoid that like the plague. Come on, you want to clear, right?
God, it's like I'm listening to myself so many years ago. Oh my god. Oh, somebody found the tweet that has my party chat at the time. Oh, there you go. That's a pleasant one. So what's even funnier is you mentioned how NA doesn't use macros. Do you know what NA does use?
What? Other than I've seen the marker dance, do they have something else?
Something called a paste bin.
Oh god.
It is an external link that takes you to, and I'm gonna blow your mind here, what is essentially a macro. It's unironically essentially a link to a macro.
Do they not know like how to type in the chat in the game? Do they?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Zero. You know how many PFs I've been in where you try to tell someone or teach someone how to do something, there's just no response. Just they hit you with the stare. They're just like whatever their portrait was when they zoned in. That's them. No, that's them. That's correct. Just.
Oh jeez.
Look you right in.
No, I'm a stick with macros. I really hope that EU does not decide to change to this paste bin idea.
I think that's for the better because I want to do a video where it's just me going like 4 minutes through hyperlinks to get to a macro at the end of it. So it's like a paste bin to like an Imgur to like a MySpace page to like a Tumblr to like a zip file on a website, and the zip file has a hyperlink in it that I wanted just like 4 minutes of that all over again, and it just ends with a macro.
Good God.
And it's a macro that's just this too. That's it. The whole macro is just gonna end with this.
Like an ask art.
Yeah.
The
the ASCIIs, the ASCIIs, as I call them. Yeah, an ASCII art. Yeah, just get them with one of these at the end of it all. I don't have the patience. I think it hurts my soul too much to think that it could happen.
Maybe I'll make a guide on this.
Guide to macros.
Hi guys, and welcome to a Hector lecture guide to how to use a macro.
You click escape, or on your.
I have to be honest. This is where it's going to lose it, because for those console players, I have to touch the touchpad like twice and navigate with a D-pad. Honestly, that right there is more off-putting than me, typing in the exact URL for the paste bin.
Yeah,
that seems like that would be easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm amazed you didn't go there, because the console players can't do the paste bins because they have to copy and paste the link.
They posted to me, and I'm literally like, wait, HTTPS. Darn it, which one's the backslash? Random.
Oh boy, this has been an enlightening conversation.
Oh.
Well, not enlightening. It's been therapeutic.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Well, like I said, we probably were going to keep this show on the shorter side. I think we've covered most of the important notes, especially the weird PTSD about Party Finder.
You need to get in DSR.
Yeah, and we want to get you, hopefully, into the rest of your raid night so you could get that clear before they get it without you. So
Yes.
we're gonna make this State of the Realm on the shorter side, unless there's something else that you feel like we need to touch upon that we didn't touch upon. Yeah.
I feel like we've hit the main points. I've managed to get all of the big weights off of my chest, and I can go hibernate.
And believe me, again, we're gonna do this again with you and June. So we'll have 3 guide makers here, and that'll be an interesting podcast.
Yeah, probably not anytime soon, but yeah, we can make that happen at some point.
Yeah, we can make that happen in the future.
That would be cool.
All right. Well, with that, thank you again for coming out of the hidey hole to do this podcast for you. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get in touch with you, since I knew you didn't really do much in the way of socials, but I'm sure everyone's glad to have had you here. I'll say my own bit. As someone who was making guides for years, I love your guides. I love the visual representation of them, and I'm glad that the community has them as a whole, even if the community doesn't always appreciate them, because the community is a 5-headed chimera.
Hey, I still stand by this community is pretty darn good, especially from what I hear of the other MMO communities. I love the FF14 community, and really thank you for saying all that. I've really been in awe of just how consistent you've been able to constantly be putting out content for Final Fantasy 14, keeping basically the scene alive through every single lull. It's been really cool to see your content over the years.
Thanks, man. I don't like when people compliment me. I'm from New Jersey. We just yell insults. That's how we compliment each other. So when somebody says it, it's like, can you translate that into Jersey? And it's like, fuck your mother. And it's like, oh, okay, I got it. That's fine.
Yeah, sorry. I do speak fluent Jersey, but I gotta be like on the prowl in case like a student's accidentally figured out who I am online and is watching. Rats me out.
Yeah, no, you don't want to speak Jersey in public generally, unless speaking in public is your living, which is the only reason I get away with it. That's definitely true. All right, well, let's wrap things up. Hector, thank you again for joining us. Normally, this is where I tell you to plug your socials, but you don't, so I guess this is just your outro to say whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm. This has been cool, internets. Thank you for coming and listening to me say things. I have a YouTube channel. That is all.
I appreciate it. Thank you again. Sly,
Take care.
Well, we're not leaving yet.
Okay, hold on. I don't know how this works.
That's it. Just cameras off. We're done.
I was gonna hang up and
Yeah.
He's okay. We'll get you DSR. Sly, hurry up. Tell him where to find you at.
You can find me in places. Happy, go.
Mr. Happy 1227. I'm going to London this weekend to play Final Fantasy 16, but I won't be able to talk about it. So if you ask me any questions, I'm just going to ban you. All right? That's done.
Good talk. Right.
Good talk. All right. Everyone, probably I don't know if there'll be a show next week. If there is, cool. If not, probably not, because I'm not going to be around for most of next week's, and then I'm moving, so probably not. Anyway, so yeah, we'll see you on whenever the next State of the Realm is. We know there's a live letter coming up, so at the very least when that happens. So yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you next week, and no, we won't. We'll see you next time, and thanks to the sponsors. And we're gonna just listen. Outro there, done. There, outro screen.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye bye, everyone.